Welcome back, students. Today we will be completing the disaster management portion of the syllabus. In the last two classes, we have discussed about what are hazards, what are how hazard can be transformed into disaster, what are the criteria of a disaster, what are the effects, what are the precautions, what is the meaning of the term mitigation. All these things are covered in the last two lectures. Now, today's lectures we will be describing about how different type of disasters are managed. In this section we will be dealing with each of the disaster. First disaster we will be talking about is flood. Now flood is a very common disaster. What happens in this type of uh, disaster? Temporary inundation of a large region as a result of increasing reservoir of a rivers flooding their banks because of heavy rains, high winds, cyclone, storm around coastal areas, tsunami, melting of snow, or dam burst. That means what happens? There is an overflow of the water bodies. Uh, it can be a river, it can be a reservoir, or it can be some melting of snow or dam burst. Uh, any incident where the amount of water gets overflowed, or the amount of water present in those water bodies increase beyond certain limit, and which lead to the destruction of the banks or the area adjacent to the particular water reservoir is known as floods. Now this can happen due to very many reasons like heavy rainfall. We all know flood occurs due to mainly due to heavy rainfall when the amount of rainfall is very high, and high winds which and all tsunami. Also in tsunami what happens, cyclone storms uh, wash away a huge amount of water into the coastal region, and destroys many properties and losses. Now, in India, more than 12% land area is prone to flood because the India is a land of rivers. There are many rivers, so in the rainy season, the amount of rainfall is very high in this region. The the chances of a flood is very high. Except for flash floods, there is reasonable warning periods. Then occurs gradually, suddenly due to breach of water control structure. That means due to the advancement of science, we can warn the occurrence of flood a way before it actually occurs. So we can have a considerable period of time to take precautions. Now various agencies involving tracking, monitoring, and issuing warning. That means the responsible bodies who is responsible for tracking, monitoring, and warning are Central Water Commission, Irrigation and Flood Control Department, Water Resource Department. Now, what are the mitigation measures which can take? Structural mitigation, watershed management, making reservoirs, building on elevated areas, then natural water retention basins, implementation, flood control measure, dam burst, etc. Then non-structural mitigations like mapping of floodplains, land use control, flood forecasting, and warning. That means these are all structural mitigation. That means some structural changes you can occur to prevent the occurrence of flood. And non-structural means which we can do it analytically, like forecasting, like previous planning, etc. These are all the mitigation measures which we can take in place of floods. Now coming to cyclone, the next calamities we'll be dealing with. In cyclone is a violent storm, often of vast extent, characterized by high wind rotating about the calm center of low atmospheric pressure. That is known as the eye of the cyclone. What happens in cyclone? There is a region in the middle which is very low pressure, and the winds rotating about the calm center, and which leads to the devastating of the lands around through which the cyclone passes. The velocity here it is mentioned 50 km per hour. It may increase to 100 to 120 km per hour. Recently, the Foni cyclone, we all know about it. It has led to a huge destruction in Bhubaneswar, in Puri, and in the Orissa state, and also in the states of southern states of the coastal region. And the speed of the Foni cyclone was about 110 to 120 km, which is a huge menace to mankind. Coastal hit Cyclone hit coastal Orissa on 29. This is an old data you can say about the Foni, which is a recent incident in the year 2020. Not 2020, in the year 2019 it took place. Usually a warning period of 8 to 24 hours was given. You can get an intimation that a cyclone can occur before 8 to 24 hours occur suddenly, leaving very little time to evacuate. Okay, so it hits the target at very fast, so mankind have very little time to get themselves prepared. Various agencies involved in tracking, monitoring, like that of flood. Also, we have cyclone management system like Department of Relief and Rehabilitation. That is the department which is acting just after the occurrence of the cyclone. Indian Meteorological Department. All these departments are busy in controlling the warnings of the cyclones. Then structural mitigation. Structural mitigation, what is happening? What structural changes you can do to prevent cyclone are engineered structure, protection against winds, coastal belt plantation, construction of roads. All these things can be done to prevent the cyclone. Now, non-structural are hazard mapping, land use control, forecasting. Mainly the forecasting and warning are the main work of the non-structural mitigation. Now coming to the next category of disaster, that is the earthquake. In earthquake, we all know about it. When the tectonic plates under the earth's surface they rearrange among themselves or settle among themselves, they move apart from each other, and there is a huge amount of energy release has been occurs, which lead to the movement of the tectonic plate, and the whole mm, earth crust moves, which lead to the destruction of huge amount of human losses and properties. Suddenly release of energy accumulated in deformed rocks cause the ground to shake or tremble. That means when this shaking occurs, this lead to trembling of the ground. Now, the example is the most famous one, 26 January in the Bhuj district of Gujarat in 2001. Many people died due to this earthquake. The earthquake Richter scale was around 7.5 to 8. It is a huge earthquake, and it has taken the lives of many people staying there. This has practically no warning. You can say that we can faintly forecast about the uh, earthquake, but nowadays new techniques has been developed. We try to predict the earthquakes occur suddenly and within no time, like the other type of natural disaster, within very short period of time. The uh, the disaster strikes the particular place. Now some agencies which are tracking and monitoring are Department of Housing and Urban Development. What these people do, they style the house in such a way that it does not get affected by the earthquake, and they does not get cracked by the huge earthquakes. Department of Environment and Forest, here the Environment and Forest section is there. They also try to control the earthquakes. Now, structural mitigation, preparation of engineered structure, retrofitting of existing buildings. That means they will design the building in such a way that due to the shaking or trembling of the ground, the particular building does not collapse, and it can forego the effect of the earthquake. So the non-structural are enforcing building codes. That means some civil engineer work is very important. Designing, you cannot prevent the earthquake, but you can build the property in such a way that it does not get affected by those earthquake. We cannot say does not, it get less affected by the earthquake. Okay, now coming to the last disaster, that is landslide. In landslide, what happens? There's a slippery mass of rock or earth or debris which move by force of their own weight down mountain slopes or river banks. What happened in this type of natural disaster? A particular land area, there slides down uh, through a particular area. Actually, mainly landslides occur in the mountainous region, where in the rainy season, due to repeated rainfall, the due to repeated rainfall, the particular area gets detached from the mainland, and that particular amount of land moves down through the area of the mountain and get washed away all the properties, trees present in the particular place. You can see in the diagram that, see, the water is flowing out. That means a particular water carries away land with it and destroys the things which is coming in its way. Example, Uttarakhand 2013, a cloudburst occurred in Uttarakhand. We all know in that the huge amount of landslides occur, normally happen gradually. However, sudden failure without warning may happen. Sometimes it occurs slowly and sometimes it occurs in a huge amount, destroying many important structural components. Now, the structural mitigation and non-structural. Structural is drainage correction. Drainage corrections means you can properly drain the water so that it does not wash away the land or engineer structure. Non-structural, same things, awareness or the prediction, the land use regulation, hazardous mapping, all these things comes under the non-structural mitigation. Now, with this, our disaster management lecture ends. In this section, you mainly have to read about the four type of land disasters and how to control them. What are the mitigation measures? Thank you, students.